ZigZag there's someone here waiting. Okay, let's go. Hey, mate, 1 second. Let me put my headphones on. Here. Hello, ZigZag. You've joined you sent an email, said you're ready for the octagon. You actually look like you're ready for the octagon. You're not octagon right
Hold
now.
on a second, because I'm hearing like two echoes. I don't know if it's because I got the I don't know if it's because I got
Okay, 1 sec.
YouTube turned on, but let me turn YouTube off.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
All right, so can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Let me just take you 1 sec.
All right.
Remove, and I'll
So
add you
I have
back.
the.
How you going, mate?
Yeah, I got you. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Yeah,
You're a
I
bit
had to
glitchy.
shut off YouTube because I was hearing two voices, like it was like an echo.
No, that's cool. That's cool. Like, nice haircut, mate, for starters. We look very similar right now.
Yeah. So here's my main question for you. First of all,
Okay.
I look at veganism as a beautiful practice. You know what I'm saying? If people are not eating animals, and I've heard a few of your videos, but I'm very curious to know: is this a religion to begin with?
No, it's not a religion.
Well, what is
It's a
your definition of
philosophical belief.
religion?
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. What is yours? So my definition of religion would be something like it would be something like a doctrine whereby you follow a creator or something, and you have like these religious tenets that you adhere to. With veganism, it's more of a philosophy, whereby so you kind of there's with veganism. What I mean by veganism is like a philosophy that respects the rights of animals, and like it would be like being against the violation of the negative rights of non-human animals. So like you would live in a way that seeks to avoid products that violate the rights of animals, so murdering them, enslaving them, if it's unjustifiable. So yeah, there's like dietary veganism where you would just avoid animal products, but I subscribe more to like ethical veganism, where like be like a moral sort of philosophy.
Right. So yeah, because I was on the comments, and then when I asked the question, they say it's basically on the ideas that it is morally wrong to kill animals. However, it's still coming out of the root of right and wrong. And then when I look at religion, religion is still coming out of the concept of good and evil. So it's if something is wrong to do, it may be wrong for one person to do, but not for another. For example, I observe nature and how things work in nature, and I've heard many arguments you've talked about where we can do things to intervene as far as like certain animals that are infringing on the will of like other animals and whatnot. Or what is your opinion on that? Because there's a couple of things I want to cover before I move on into the religion topic. Like just animals eating each other in nature. What is your opinion on that?
So my focus would be what humans do to non-human animals. That's where I focus most of my attention on. Do I think that we ought to intervene if an animal is attacking another animal? I think that yeah, there might be some compelling reasons that we should intervene if, say, an animal is attacking another animal. I would put it into like I'd make like an analogy like this: like if a dog is attacking a child, do you step in and stop the dog? If it's a wild dog, do you step in and stop the wolf? Do you stop the wolf from attacking your cat? Do you stop a dog from attacking a cat? And even if the cat is a stray cat, like all of these situations, I would say, yeah, I think we should intervene. Now, to what end we go to intervene, that's another question, but I do think we do have a moral obligation to stop an animal being viciously ripped to shreds by another animal. Yeah.
Are you playing God then?
No, just generally, like if you were getting ripped to shreds by a wild animal, I wouldn't say they're a wild animal. Nature, though, you know what? I'd probably shoot a bear if they tried to attack you. Yeah. And
Okay, so because
yeah.
the only reason I ask that is, for example, like there's certain people who say if God exists, then why are there rapes, murders, tortures, and pedophilia and all that? Why are things not? So in other words, you getting in the way of another animal, killing another animal is like a divine intervention. So I'll give you an example for like I have a garden. I grow food. I love to eat fruits,
Yeah.
and I basically can observe an apple tree and it's getting attacked by aphids. Now I can go one of two ways. I can get chemicals and destroy these aphids, or I can leave the aphids there and wait for the carnivorous predatory insects to come and get rid of these aphids, which is what happened based on my observation. I could have been doing divine intervention, but then again, that would mean being a slave to the land rather than the land working for me. It's no different if I have a business. I'd rather have a business work for me than me be a slave to the business. So I have workers. I'm the CEO. I'm the observer. So as far as this reality, because there's things that people say when I ask them about the veganism topic, they say that it's not a religion because it doesn't have anything to do with like anything divine or anything like that. But in my opinion, if I decide to stop eating animals, it's because I realize that these animals are my brothers and sisters, and not because I fell in love with a doctrine or fell in love with the idea. Because you know how many religious people I meet, and at the end of the day, I dissect a conversation with them, and they're basically just rooted out of the fact that their parents were religion, and that's the reason why they believe in God, and they're religious, and they cut their veins for this Jesus. So if you realize God, then you are basically into all religions. So this is the reason why somebody say I'm religious is not to say that you're into one religion, but then this doctrine, for example, of like veganism, which I respect. I'm not against veganism. I'm just trying to question where it comes from, because I'm noticing a lot of people I speak to that are vegans are coming from ego, or they're just coming from a space where no different than a religious person just being religious because they want to be part of a community or just part of something else. So I have cats in my garden, and my cats will rip a mouse to shreds, and then I'm gonna let you get in there because I want to just get your points on all this. And then the cat is not aware that it did anything that we would categorize as like torture and slaughtering and anything like that. They actually play around with the mouse before they actually like kill it. And they're so proud of what they do that they will actually bring you the mouse to show the master, hey, look what I got for you. But we look at that and say, okay, this is a human idea that I have toward what that cat did, but that cat is just doing cat things. Humans, for example, as far as what we're doing, because I also see that you go, there's been times where you've gone into businesses and have gone with your TVs, and it's kind of like it's kind of like invading those businesses. No different than if I got pests in my garden, I'm going like Japanese beetles or something I have to deal with, and they actually overpopulate so much in numbers that I have to go outside physically and sometimes throw them in a little cup of water with soap, because if not, they'll decimate the plant that I'm trying to grow to eat my fruits. If I wanted to be like, let's say 100% vegan. So like you invading the business would look, go ahead. I just want to make sure that
you've got a lot of things on the table here, and you're giving some, there's a lot for me to unpack here. So can we do one at a time?
One at a time.
Because I feel like you're mixing a lot in here. You're mixing cat versus mouse, animals doing something in nature. You're mixing me invading businesses. You're talking about crop protection, and you're kind of, I feel like there's a bit of a meshing going on here. So you're saying you're not against veganism. You're saying you don't like to follow doctrines, or you're against kind of religious views and just blindly following dogma. You also said if you were going to stop eating animals, it would be for some reason that you, where you view these animals as your brothers and sisters. It's more like they're sentient.
It's a realization.
It's a realization. Exactly. That's why I'm vegan, bro. That's why I'm vegan. Straight up. I'm not vegan because I listened to someone's religious view and said don't eat animals because I said, and because it's right and wrong. I actually analyzed why it's wrong, and because this is why I'm vegan. Just so you know, I value the experience of the sentient being. Okay, you're a sentient being. I'm a sentient being. We experience the world around us. I'm not against all killing. I will kill a person if I have to defend my family. If they're going to kill me, like what's this non-aggression principle, something like this. If I have to inflict some type of violence on someone to stop something horrible happening, I will do that. I'm not a complete pacifist. But animals are innocent. They're sentient like us. They have an experience, maybe not exactly the same, but what happens to them matters to them. So I believe that we should extend rights and protections to them because they can experience pleasure, pain, sentience, and they don't want bad things to happen to them. So that's why I'm vegan. I'm trying to mitigate my unjustifiable harm onto these animals. So yeah, I don't know if that helps you with your questions here about these cats eating mouses and stuff like that. That's a different topic, what animals do in nature. I don't believe that gives us justification to act like animals act, by the way, if cats eat mice and things.
See, the whole thing is like look, for example, you see Tristan Tate and Andrew Tate. One is Muslim and the other
Yeah.
one's Christian, but they're brothers, and they don't ever question each other's religion. They got their own like followings, their own beliefs and whatnot. Like I'm not religious at all. You know what I'm saying? I've got my own way of like religion to me is my own organization and my own structure as far as to how I get up in the morning and do things, which is why I say you could do things religiously. Like you may get up in the morning and just drink a cup of coffee at first thing in the morning. That's something you do religiously. Your body does things religiously. Otherwise, you'd cease to exist. Like breathing, excretion, digestion,
like a discipline kind of thing, like habitual discipline, where you go through like religious practices, like, but not to do with God. I get what you're saying with your definition of religion.
So now when it comes to these two, they don't do it. But let's say, for example, I meet a lot of people who are like diehard religious people. And they'll always, and I'm from New York, you know what I'm saying? And I moved down to the South, but I'm noticing here, they come to your door, they try to convert you. It's a lot of like, they're asking like empty questions. And it's like, it gets me because I'm like, where are these things coming from? And then upon dissecting them, just even asking them, I don't know how into metaphysics you are, because I know most vegans are not. But I'll ask them like what they say, do you know where you go when you die? Then I ask them, well, what is the difference between the soul and the spirit? And they can't even answer that simple question, Now, when it comes down to these little simple things where things can actually get a little bit more clear, and just kind of not just go skip the line and say, oh, I want you to follow this, but you don't really know the root cause of why you're even there. You know what I'm saying? And then that's the reason why I asked that.
I do, but my friend, we don't have to get into metaphysics to analyze whether or not it's wrong to stab a pig in the throat for a sandwich. We don't have to do that. Like basically, we're talking something a little more grounded here, a little more simple. Like we're talking something like a normative ethical theory, not what you believe happens to us when we die, or is there a God, or is there some underlying energy in the universe? We're talking about, do animals have their own subjective experience? Do they have a brain? Do they have a functioning nervous system, eyes? Do they feel afraid? Do they feel pain? Do they not want to die? Things like this, right? Is it wrong in your worldview to shoot a cow in the skull, cut them up into pieces so we can have a fleeting burger? Do you think it's wrong in the case where we have other things to eat and we're not in some survival situation?
If you're looking at it, from a moral standpoint, let's say what's moral to me may not be moral to you. I personally wouldn't do it because it's not programmed in me to do that. But if I was raised as a child to do that, it would seem normal to me. You get what I'm saying? But the whole thing is that all right. So let's talk about slavery for a second. You don't think that you have to be mentally enslaved before you can become a slave?
No. Not at all. I'll just.
What is mental slavery?
And I'll just put a gun to your head and chain you up. But you don't have to be mentally enslaved in order to become a slave.
Right. Okay. Then vice versa. Let's say we're not looking at it linear. For example, like what is mental slavery to you? For example.
To me, I haven't really thought about this too much, but it would be something like slavery to me seems forced. So it would be like something that my mind has been forced to endure without my consent. In a way, so that would be slavery, or feeling entrapped by some type of fear. So if someone were to control me through coercion or fear, and then I'd feel enslaved in my mind that I could, so like propaganda might do that, or some fear-based thing might make me feel mentally enslaved, or something like this, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Now, when it comes to the metaphysical part, for example, let's say, do you believe that somebody who does wrong deserves that wrong in return?
It depends. If someone does wrong, they definitely deserve to be stopped immediately. Do they deserve karma? It depends on what you mean.
Karma, let's say. Karma.
I think that would be a good way of stopping bad things from happening. If there was some metaphysical force that delivered karma, I think it would have stopped me from doing bad things. If there was some instant like feedback loop, it just depends what you mean by what that feedback loop is. Like, is it by me delivering the karma, or is it by some metaphysical force?
Okay, I don't want to get woo-woo over here or pseudo, because I know it's like we have to try to stay grounded, like you said. But
yeah, but before you go ahead, I'm going to let you go ahead. But I do want to say that this topic does not need to get out here. I just want to know, like, do you pay for this to happen to animals, and do you think it's justified? So I'll let you talk about this metaphysical point, because I know this is something that you're really
and then we can get on.
Yeah, because I've got a big audience here who are interested in us getting down to the nitty gritty of the topic here. But go ahead, and then we'll see where it goes.
Okay, so let's say if we get into a what if, right? Let's say if you're here right? You're here. Let's say we got into the topic of reincarnation and whatnot, and then we ask about what we did in our past lives. There's many questions that you can't answer, right? Because you just really don't know. You don't even know what happens after you die. But suppose it that these animals that are in these slaughterhouses and going through this pain and torture, what if they somehow in a past life did this, and this is what they are basically now having to experience based on what they did at one point? Would you still stand up for these animals? If that was the case, and that was like it was proven that that's exactly how it works.
Yeah, that's a really fucked up question. You know that, right? Because I could.
I mean, it is.
The reason it's a fucked up question.
But you guys ask fucked up questions too, though. Huh?
Yeah. Of course, yeah, we do, and I should taste of my own medicine, really. But I could say, I could just the reason the question is really messed up is because that's like hypothetically. Like, yeah, you could be upset about this horrible mass shooting that happened to all these like preschool kids the other day. But what if those preschool kids actually did something wrong in a past life and they actually deserved it? Would you stand by that mass shooting then? The reason that's why it's such a fucked up question, because if I asked you that question in the wake of a school shooting, you're not gonna go, well, it's a fucked up question, because it's kind of like, what if that were the case? Would you be in support of that? And basically that's like saying they did something wrong in a past life. Do I think that something bad should happen to them in this life? Well, no, because they're a different being in this life. It's a clean slate. Right. Like, and that's if you believe in reincarnation, you have to presuppose so many different things before we got to that point that I wouldn't even be comfortable in I don't even see the utility in answering a question like that, because who cares is the answer. Who gives a fuck? Because we can never prove that. But there's no way.
Well, we talk about sentience. Yeah, we talk about sentience, right? Your body is literally made up of trillions of cells, and these cells are sentient. They even have something called organ-like organelles. Okay, and when you observe these cells, for example, like you look, this is the reason why I'm getting to this, because the reason, look, we used to once fight. It was physical fighting. You called this an octagon. Like if we were gonna go head to head, we're battling words. Let's say if I smashed you in a debate. I know we're just talking shit. But let's say if I smashed you in a debate, somebody could be like, yo, ZigZag, good job, yo, you killed it. You killed him there. You know what I'm saying? Why do we use those words? Because it's like I'm going head to head with you. We're two opposing sides going head to head with each other with words, a war of words. And I can hurt you with these words, and some people may even attack your character aside from what you stand for. So if you say I am vegan, I'm literally attacking what your idea of you is. You know what I'm saying? So like, let's say somebody was born into a fucked up like lifestyle, and they're here and they're like, what did I do to deserve this life? Right? These animals, do you ever ask, like, okay, if they're in that existence, what was the lottery ticket that they were bred into existence to do that? Yeah, we have divine intervention to stop those animals into breeding. That's the reason why I get into the metaphysical part, because either way, we're kind of debating here in a way where we're going against each other, right? But we're more or less sparring. It's not an aggressive fight. But you've seen people go at it where I've seen you on certain shows, like, you know, Piers Morgan's show, and he was attacking your character because he started to talk about your past being like a criminal and whatnot. But then he goes after the idea of what makes you. If he breaks you in that debate, then he literally killed you, because your reputation will be tarnished. You're not credible anymore. And here we measure everything by credit scores, even how we pay our bills and whatnot on a lower class. But on a higher class, let's say we're going to do this.
I get what you're
saying. Go ahead. All right. I don't want to ramble on.
Like this, no, you're not rambling. You're saying some. You feel like you're saying veganism is part of my identity. I'm defending my identity when I defend veganism. And
right.
I'm not defending. Yeah, it's an assumption. It's an assumption. I might actually. There might be aspects of this that are my identity. I'm an animal rights activist. Maybe my ego has taken a battering over the years, and actually I just truly found out that I just actually do care about this topic, and I can find out easily whether you're someone who cares about this topic too, with simple questions, because I feel like we're getting a little bit lost into the woods with identity and with metaphysics, and with maybe animals did something bad in their past. You could say that about literally any atrocity that has ever happened to human beings, by the way, and I would not accept that without some very, very good evidence, and we don't have any, so we just basically saying what if. But like, when I asked you, is it wrong to stab a cow in the neck for a burger or something like that, shoot them in the skull so we can eat them? Is that morally wrong? You said, yeah, it is. So
it is morally wrong. Yeah, but I'm not because I'm not programmed that way.
But wait a second. I'm not asking for your programming. I'm just asking you, why do you pay for that to happen when you can easily not?
Well, you see, here's the thing. The same way that you kind of played God and did divine intervention, I live my own religion and structure where before I eat my food, right? Like they teach you this in school. You can't kill or destroy energy. You can only transfer, transmute it. It's like if you're giving me a big spill of negativity, I can transmute it by showing you the bright side of things, right? So this goes into the concept again of metaphysics of you are what you eat and what you eat becomes you. A lot of the times these animals going through that extreme conditions in those slaughterhouses, you're not just processing that complex chemistry in your body, you're processing the emotions of that animal as well. And then people start to ask themselves, why am I depressed? Why am I this? Again, there's no science to back that up. But then again, everything is to me in the mind. I've had experiences where I've had out-of-body experiences. And then if I ask you, hey, Joey, have you ever had out-of-body experiences? And you say no, you're going to just say what my claims are anecdotal claims, right? But why would you discredit my anecdotal claims if I experienced it?
I have had out-of-body experiences, but I don't.
Well, that's a metaphysical experience.
I don't see what we're disagreeing with here about animals going through suffering in slaughterhouses and ingesting that energy or whatever. I just asked you why you support it, like why you buy it and why you eat the animals, and you said it was because
I'm not necessarily supporting it. I mean, we're in a realm where creation is created. If I empower my reality with all the negativity, I'm going to experience more of that negativity. Like if I'm into conspiracy theories and I go and start becoming a doomsday prepper, I'm more than likely to experience a doomsday apocalypse than somebody who's not really paying attention to that reality. Somebody may experience that in the comfort of their own home, just looking at it on the news, where I may be forefront because I've like lived that reality. You get what I'm saying? Like you basically, you're making the choices and decisions to position yourself in what you're doing. But if you don't see it, in my opinion, you don't want to see it. You get what I'm saying? Because you're just pretty much looking at it from one side and not really looking at it from the big scope of things.
Yeah, I get you, man. Like you're probably a little bit disconnected from the slaughterhouse to the burger. Like obviously I ate meat. How old are you, bro? If you don't mind me asking.
I'm 43.
43. You look young. You look very, very youthful. But yeah, I ate meat for 26 years, right? So I used to get big steaks cut off the side of it. I go into the butcher and get them to cut my T-bones for me, actually. And I know exactly what disconnect is. And I was big into karma and big into this, big into that. I was also a gang member and also a bit violent too. Like I was a violent gang member, went to prison, got sober, started to see that maybe there's other parts of my life where I'm being violent as well. And then I started to think to myself, how do I justify chopping an animal up into pieces so I can eat their body? That's their body. And, I wouldn't accept it if it were dogs. I wouldn't accept it if it were humans. I see myself as a protector, someone who protects the innocent. And even as a gang member, I saw myself like that. So what am I doing? That's how it's simple.
So you're taking, that's my definition of God. You're taking authority over something. So you're basically being a protector. You're doing something where you're defending, let's say, your ideas or your moral systems, which is just basically all systems. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, like I said, it's all coming down to what you're doing and empowering in your reality. If you're empowering that, then you want to bring that and share it with everybody else. But let's say getting into a business to force other people to believe in that is kind of like being a pest in a garden. Like it's there, but you're always going to have some type of carnivore. Go ahead.
Let's talk about it then. You had a problem with me taking some TV screens. Do you have a problem? Like, let's say, is there a problem with me going into, say, a supermarket where there's a meat aisle and showing people that walk up what happens to the animals before they go to the meat aisle? Okay.
No.
So
I'm just observing.
It is being a little bit of a pest.
Yeah.
But do you think it's justified behavior or unjustified behavior?
If you're standing by your doctrine, yes, it's justified behavior. It's just that I'm not attached to the idea of carnivorism or veganism. I'm looking at it from the observer of both sides. That's the reason why I have a YouTube channel. I grow fruits. I have a garden. I got a nice garden. I grow nothing but fruits, watermelons, grapes, all kind of berries. I love fruits, right? I'd rather eat fruits than eat meat. However, if I go to my mom's house and she prepares a dish for me that she prepared with love, that meal may be the healthiest meal I've ever had because of the energy signature it was prepared with. But if I go to somebody's house and they're preparing, with hatred and like jealousy toward me and whatnot, that food may be unhealthy, no matter if it was the healthiest vegan diet on the planet. So if I'm growing out of my garden, I'm growing it with a passion of love because I love doing what I'm doing. But if these animals, for example, are being killed and whatnot, and then my mom goes to the supermarket, she transmuted that energy for me already. And I may even go and pray over my meal. And I'm not doing it from a religious concept. I'm doing it just from a higher faculty consciousness that I have over other animals. You get what I'm saying? This is why I try to separate the way certain religious people look at religion, which is inverted evil. If you look at it, it's just backwards, or the righteous way, if we want to call it a righteous way, because I don't believe in really in bad or good. It's just is. Everything just is just happening.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
All right,
This is why it's hard to
unpack
debate
that.
on things when we look at it like this.
No, brother, there's plenty to debate there. Like I'd like to unpack everything you just said there. So like let me just throw a few analogies your way, and I'll see if you're actually consistent with this view that if a family member goes to the butcher, pays the butcher to take this flesh from an animal, let's just say they were tortured beforehand, and then they transmute that energy by praying over or delivering some type of love-based energy towards this corpse here before they cook it for you, and that kind of exonerates you from any wrongdoing, okay? Because that's what I'm asking. Does that exonerate you from wrongdoing if you transmute this negative energy before you eat it? Now, here's an example. Let's just say let's change the universe here so we don't have to think about, it's illegal, this and that. Let's just change the universe a bit here. I just want to see if you're consistent. That's why I'm just delivering a bit of a hypothetical here. There's a bunch of, let's just say there's a bunch of, I don't know, like human beings there that just chilling. I walk up with a chainsaw, just chainsaw massacre the hell out of them in a real evil way. Chainsaw them up fully conscious into little chunks, pieces, and then I come back to your house with a basket full of chainsawed up human beings who'd suffered to death in the most horrific, vile way you could possibly think of, full of adrenaline and fear. Their body parts are, you couldn't get any worse, really. It was a horrible thing. I can't even describe it. That's how bad it was. And I take it back, and then we had a bunch of monks there that were like the most pristine monks, and we had them back at your house, and we took all the body parts in, and this wouldn't have happened without you, by the way. You paid me 10 grand to bring you back some meat, and that's what I did. All right, so we have to bring in the element of supply and demand, because this is what happening to the animals. I bring it back to some monks there. They do a chant over the meat, all the bad energy's out, and you've given me my 10 grand. I've done the massacre for you, and we put that on the barbecue. Would you say, okay, even though I had some vegan food available, I see that as morally neutral, or as you said, not good or bad, just kind of just morally neutral?
Okay, I get your idea. So let's start with this. When we talked about my mom cooking the animal for me, right? She's not doing it thinking about transmuting it, or it's just she's doing it out of a love frequency to begin with, only because she's in some form of harmony, but she's not thinking. That's when you know it's not coming from ego. See, there's the whole thing. When people are in religion, it's egotistical. It's not really spiritual. And if you're into religion, that's a metaphysical experience. But let's talk about now the body parts and whatnot. These humans are direct brothers and sisters to me. The animals would be more or less the way I would consider it, people outside of me. You are, let's say if you see in the news, oh, there was a mass shooting in the schools. Are you going to go home and sob and cry the same way if it happened to your mom? No, because it's not something that's immediate to you. You're not attached to it. But the whole thing is now, when we talk about is it morally wrong or right, I am programmed not to eat humans. If I was programmed from a child to eat humans, I wouldn't see let's say the abnormality in it. You get what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying to say. It's not like to say that it's right, we should go kill and eat humans. But the whole thing is, everything is neutral. Everything that we're saying is bad or good is from what we're programmed from the moment we came into existence to say is right or wrong. They tell you this in religion when we start reading the Bible, don't treat your neighbor as you would yourself. But why? Because those are immediate. But if you do unto others, you're doing it unto yourself.
Sorry, zigzag. It shouldn't matter. I've exonerated you from the negativity with our chanting monks. So those corpses are now actually harmonied. They're vibrating.
But why the monks?
Love energy.
Why the monks?
Because they generated the love vibration to this.
No, but not monks. I don't see monks bigger than me though. That's somebody putting their power above somebody else. I don't care. I can see monks. I can see gurus. Those gurus are not bigger than me. I'm the only reason they even exist is because I'm collapsing them into existence with my attention. So the only person that really matters is me and what I do.
You
get what I'm saying?
So is it morally justifiable to murder a bunch of sentient beings, call them humans? They're humans, and let's say they're human beings. Is it morally justifiable to murder them so you can eat them? You pay me to do that. If the meal was prepared with love,
right? Well, this is the whole thing, though. There's a loving building frequency right? Which, in my opinion, is the real you. Like, let's call it source. I'm not trying to get metaphysical or woo-woo. You have to. It's see, that's what I'm saying. If we're going in too much into left brain intellectual stuff, it's hard to kind of mesh things in, and it's like you can't even be here unless we go into metaphysics to some extent. We go into the quantum field, even to basically as potential for what's happening in your reality right now. So let's say, for example, if I'm looking at these let's say these humans are direct aspects and mirror of myself through realization, right? Not because of just programming. Like I said, I've had certain spiritual experiences, which I'm not going to share over here because it's going to sound stupid, but
Okay.
but some people might say there's no science to back that up. They're anecdotal claims. Like you said you had out of body experiences or no? How could you prove that? You can't prove that. You can only talk about it. And somebody who never had it can't even fathom that, because it's like, how the hell can you come out of body? You know what I'm saying? Like look, for you to come out of body and have had these experiences, you're going to go through a sleep paralysis. You actually have to put your body to sleep first. When people have a sleep paralysis, the first thing they try to do is physically move. When in actuality, they get scared and they get programmed.
You don't need to get into this, man. We
Let
really
me just
don't need
finish
to get
that one
into
last
sleep
point.
paralysis.
Just
We're
one
talking
last
about
no,
different
just
topics.
one last point.
Okay.
I'm going to explain why. And I'm not trying to cut you off. I think there's a little delay. So if like you see that I'm talking, I'm not trying to talk above you. So I'm not trying to like disrespect you.
Okay, I'm just trying to keep it on
but
track.
let me just
I
got you.
Keep it on track. Okay, yeah.
Just one small thing I want to cover here, because it's going to be to the point. If I have a sleep paralysis, you're programmed to think that that's a bad thing. Oh, demons are on top of you and whatnot. When in actuality, if you are aware that you're in a sleep paralysis, you feel yourself moving and you'll come right out. You get what I'm saying? So that's the reason why it's just a certain way of doing things. If you're trying to do it from a physical standpoint, you're not going to get the outcomes that, oh, I can basically back this up and claim it here in this physical realm. You have to have it in a way where you're doing it, where you're either mentally doing it, where you're feeling yourself doing it, or, like thinking about yourself moving, But that's the reason why I wanted to cover that, only to kind of separate the right and left brain part of things.
Yeah, but my friend, we don't need to
not
talk
of your
about
interest,
sleep
I know.
paralysis.
Right.
I am interested in the topic. I researched it a lot, actually, sleep paralysis and all those different things. It's just not what I'm talking about right here. I asked you a question. Is it okay to slaughter a bunch of sentient beings in a horrific way if
I told you no?
is prepared
I said no.
No, you didn't.
I'm not programmed to that.
Okay, so
I'm not programmed like that.
Okay, that's cool.
I'm not programmed like that.
So it's not.
But based on programming, though.
One sec, because I just want to get this little. So it's not okay to slaughter the human beings if the meal is prepared with love. But when your mother brings you some meat back from the supermarket that is prepared with love, that's morally fine.
So is my mom an evil person?
No, I'm
if she
asking
cooks
you
a meal with me?
because this question is about you, because you said when she does it, you'll eat that meat because it's been cleansed of energy.
Right. It's basically like if she's cooking it in like the most loving frequency, that's why we call it soul food. Soul food is not what you eat in the South as far as like, like the whatever they want to eat. But I'm just saying soul food comes down to a deeper level. You know what I'm saying?
I get you what you're saying, bro. I'm just saying there's one case over here where I go and slaughter the human beings and then cook the food with love and however we cleanse the energy. You say that's not okay. But if your mum goes and pays for it down at the shops, you'll eat that because it is okay. I'm just saying there's a contradiction here. They're both the same kind of situation.
It's not okay. It's not okay or okay. That's what I'm saying. Like it doesn't really necessarily come down to a polarization of like an answer to that specific question. I asked if veganism was a religion, and it's like you can look at it from many different ways if it's a religion or not. But what's religion to one person is not religion to another. You know what I'm saying? I made those examples when we started this topic.
Okay, with you, do you think it's morally justifiable to eat animal products from the supermarket? Let's just say. I just want to go somewhere.
All right, that's a great question. Great question. I don't physically go buy meats in the supermarket for myself, but if my mom cooks it, I'm gonna eat it. You know what I'm saying? If I go to somebody's, I'm not attached to the doctrine. That's what it is. So if I was attached to the idea. I am but unless somebody gives me a plate, and I'm not going to deny the plate. If I'm hungry, I'm going to eat. You get what I'm saying?
You're vegan outside of your mom's house. You basically just
that's why I told you. Right. That's why I said when we first started, this is a beautiful doctrine to be in. It's something where if it's coming from a true heart space, I mean, I believe from a pure heart space, I believe it's beautiful to be vegan. But it's not like we could say, you could perceive a priest, let's say, to be the good guy because he's like preaching about God, but you know how many priests I see actually like being pedophiles and doing stupid things that they're not supposed to do that doesn't go with their religion?
Yeah, yeah, I get you. I hear you. I feel
Okay.
you.
So that's what I'm saying about
I'm just
vegan.
I'm just a little bit shocked and stunned that you actually are a plant-based eater outside of your visiting your mum.
Right. I am.
Like,
I eat fruits. I love fruits. And I'm
okay,
not
so
concerned with protein. I work out
so,
and I can grow
yeah,
muscles just eating fruit.
yeah, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. So I thought that you were just a conventional kind of meat consumer
No, I'm
who
not.
didn't have any. And why don't you eat meat outside of your mum's house?
Uh it's not, it's something I just don't really care to eat. It makes me feel heavy. It makes me feel a little bit more inflammation. This is just for me. You get what I'm saying? It just doesn't
Okay.
really sit well with me, and it's not something that I'd rather just see. It takes so much energy to process something like that, and I'm aware of the hormones and steroids and the drugs they put these animals in. So it's like I just don't
Okay.
feel like consuming that. Even the fruits, that's why I said even the fruits I grow are totally different than the ones you grow in the supermarket.
I hear you. So it's completely selfish reason. Not to be rude or anything, but it's a
Well,
self-centered reason.
okay, well, it is, because if I'm good, then everybody else is good. It's kind of like somebody saying, put your oxygen mask on first. If I'm mentally straight, I feel like everything
Yeah.
in my life will be mentally straight too.
Yeah, I'm not trying to insult you or anything. I'm just
No,
saying
no, no,
that
no. I
does
know
sound
insult taken. Those are genuine
that
questions.
just sounds like a
Ask
self-centered
me any
reason.
question. Ask me any question
Yeah,
without feeling any kind of way. I'm not going to get offended.
that's cool. I'm just saying you take issue with animals being mass bred, confined, decapitated for human beings. Do you take issue with that?
Right. If okay, so check this out. If I see something in my immediate reality happening, I'm gonna stop it, because it's like, wow, what the hell are you doing, bro? You know. But if it's happening on a global scale, yeah, you would have to actually be part of. You would have to have that badge of veganism and go do that. Which there's nothing wrong with it. That's what you're about. You get what I'm saying? But forcing it on
I just
others,
asked if
I
you
feel
take.
like that's
I just ask if you take issue with it. That's all I
no. I
asked.
don't.
I
I
didn't
don't.
hear.
I don't. No, I,
You don't
I,
take.
I do take issue with the. Yeah, I do take issue. I think it's a horrible thing to do, because I'm not
Okay.
programmed that way. Again, I'm gonna go back to the programming since I was a
Okay.
child. You know what I'm saying? I can
Okay.
break those programs. I can listen to, let's say, because this is how you change yourself: repetition, trauma, and symbolism. I can program myself. Right? Let's say, do you ever hear people say that they're poor and they want to be rich? They can reprogram their mind to abundance consciousness. I can
Yeah.
program myself to hate animals and start killing animals. Your body's like a computer. You get what I'm saying? And
Okay.
that the only reason I spoke about the sentient cells is when you're debating somebody, you're technically going up against that person. And if that person's under severe stress, like let's say you got that person cornered, or they're attacking your character and they're starting to feel a certain way, a bunch of cells are dying. You're literally creating mass murder there to begin with without even realizing it. Just like the cat doesn't realize it just killed the mouse in the garden, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't go.
And
that
now
far.
when you look at, like, I've also heard about people saying, oh, bivalves and clams and whatnot, and all these things aren't sentient. Well, I mean, your body,
Yeah.
if you really dissect it to the most minute level, you're basically made of bacteria and viruses more than you are human. But when we look at it
Yeah.
on the
But
cellular
it
level,
just
those are
it just depends
sentient
on how you. It
sentient
just
cells.
depends on how you
It's
define
perception.
sentience, right? It just depends on how you
So what
define
is sentience?
sentience.
So what is
Well, for
sentience?
me, it's being able to have a subjective experience, like
Mhm.
so like what we're having right now, a subjective experience. You're a subject inside of a conscious experience. You have,
Exactly.
but I don't see bacteria as having a subjective experience because they are not what
It's
I
not
would consider
bacteria,
sentient.
cells.
Yeah, I don't think
Cells.
cells might contain some type of energy, but I don't. That's not what I define as
But
sentient.
the perception of the individual determines the sentience or the expression of those cells. So if I'm stressed
Yeah,
out, let's say
yeah, you might.
see how people say,
Yeah,
"Hey, bro, it doesn't matter. Like, why are you putting so much energy? It doesn't matter." Like, if things matter to me, they're materializing my life, but I'm stressing myself out because I'm not aware of what's potentially real or not real. I can make something very real by how much matter and energy I put into it.
I get you. There's something called the
Mhm.
placebo effect and the nocebo effect, where like
Exactly. I'm
they
glad you
account for
brought
it
that
in
up.
scientific studies. Yeah, yeah, that's fine. That's all cool. This is
Yeah.
this is all great stuff. Great stuff to talk about. Good topic. But yeah, so you have an issue with me telling people they shouldn't pay for animals to be in this eternal mass murder, decapitation horror story. Do you have an
Brother,
issue with me going out and telling
if,
people
if
this?
I had an issue with you doing that, I would actually create my own organization to try to, like, attack you. But I'm not attack. See, the reason I even jumped on is just to put things into perspective, as, like, let's say something that's not really seen from the vegan community. I'm not
Yeah.
here to try to like tell you what you're doing is wrong or right. You get what I'm saying? I think what you're doing is great. You're doing something. Look, if you're doing something with passion, you might have misunderstood me. But look, if you're doing something with passion, I support you. I think what you're doing is a phenomenal thing because you're doing it with love and passion. You know how many people have jobs that they don't want to do? And then that's what I'm talking about. Like they're putting themselves through certain stresses because of it's an ignorance. They're not aware that they can do better by just tapping into something. You were once a criminal. You said you were doing bad things. You had a realization that you had a passion for something. You started to do it. And it's a beautiful thing. You created a big following, started making money. I applaud people who make money and start doing things with a passion. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I said I don't have a problem with what you're doing. I love what you're doing, except I'm putting things into perspective because I speak to vegans. And this is why even in the comments, I said, I'd rather have a discussion with you about it to see where your points of view are. So not to say that what you're doing is bad or good.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I think that what I'm coming up against is like some of the most horrible, horrifying, disgusting, sick, torturous, evil shit that you could ever imagine.
That's right.
I think, and to say that, and to even make a suggestion that me asking people to stop doing that is a bad thing, I would think would just make you sound like a fucking insane lunatic. If you especially knew the depths of what we're talking about here, if you watch the movie like Dominion, or if you've seen some of the investigations I've conducted myself, if you went into a factory farm, okay, great. Then you know that
I've been following you for a little while. I've been watching your content.
Great.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Great, then we don't have to just debate about whether or not it's bad, which I'm happy about too, because that says a lot about your character that you're not trying to defend the indefensible, because a lot of people do actually. Now, I don't see us disagreeing much more. I would suggest I don't see us disagreeing at all. I think we've got a little bit off topic. You have a lot of big meta conversations to have. You see things a lot with a bigger scope,
more expensive.
Veganism.
The only reason I'm saying is I know it's a simple thing, but here's the thing, though. Let me just close up with this first. When you look at religions and you really dissect each and every one of the religions, you'll see that they're actually talking about the same thing. Like you'll hear the story of Jesus Christ. You'll hear the story of Krishna. It's like they all had 12 disciples, died for 3 days, came back and resurrected. It's the same thing in different characters. That's the only reason why I said when you're religious, you look at the big scope of things. When I look at veganism and how they operate, I have to go into the metaphysical side of things because there's no other way. Carnivores can come out with a bunch of studies which they'll sit there till they're blue in the face backing up their claims how it's the healthiest meal, right? But then again, like you just said, it's how I eat it and how I receive it into my system. Right now, you're listening to me talking. You're consuming information. If you buy into my ideas, it could say, oh, I just changed your life. So what do you say? You say this a lot. Oh, I just planted a seed in that person's mind. You want them to convert based on something that you're doing by programming them, by planting a seed that may grow because they might hear other things based on what you just planted. So now they're aware. Yeah. That's a mind virus. That's a mind virus. And mind viruses are not categorized as bad or good.
I just want them to stop paying for animals to be stabbed in the neck. I'm not trying to propagate seeds into their mind and take over their mind. I just want them to stop doing something horrific through their actions, which is a simple change. I mean, yes, we can get into like whatever, some meta conversation. I'm just like, it's a really fundamental, hey, is it wrong to stab animals in the neck for a sandwich? Yes, it is wrong. Okay, then I'm going to change my behavior slightly in my life. Thanks very much. I'm not going to change me as a person. I'm still going to be into all my spiritual stuff, eat my fruits. I'm just not going to eat corpses of tortured animal bodies who didn't want to die and didn't want to be born into suffering in factory farms, and not make up any silly excuses that we can't prove, like they did something bad in a bad life, in a past life or something. And everyone that has something horrific happen to them obviously did something bad in a past life. Like, I just don't think that that's a very helpful discussion, a helpful justification for, I don't think it's a justification, it's a way of proving it. Yeah.
It's not, but it also disempowers you to some extent, because it's kind of like saying you can't think outside the box because you only have to like basically see what you see and that's it. Sometimes the unseen is not seen because you're not seeing it. It's just like if I want to buy a car and all of a sudden now I start seeing the car everywhere. It's not to say the car was never there. The car was there. It's just that I'm aware of it now. That's why I say when you're planting something in your mind, you're going to start to see it. Everything is there. Reality and creation is already created. Everything's done. You're just not seeing certain things. That's what I'm saying. And that's the reason why I think I would like to have a further discussion. It don't even have to be online or offline. I don't really care for the clout or anything like that. I genuinely wanted to have this discussion with you. Because like I said,
I appreciate you. I appreciate you stopping by. And I think we did. We had a good discussion. I don't think we're disagreeing all too much. It doesn't seem like. So I think I'm going to do the do the deed and end it there. But thank you for. I think
All right, that's fine.
It's been an hour. But thank you. It's been like nearly an hour, dude. Like it's been a long time. So thank you for stopping by.
Good topic. That's good.
I'm going to find someone I actually do disagree with a little bit more, and appreciate you enlightening us with with a different kind of conversation, one I didn't expect. And take care and enjoy your YouTube channel. I hope that
All right, man. Go ahead, bro. We're good. Thank you. I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you letting me on.